Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to askNK. This is our weekly rundown of events, updates and beautiful things happening within Blender community, Blender Foundation and also Blender as an app. And this week we do have a whole lot of interesting things that you guys would like to take a look at. First up, Blender 2.93.1, the very first LTS is right here. And for those who are using Blender 2.93 right now, you may want to download the LTS version and update this because there's a couple of bugs that have been fixed. And of course you can actually get these on Windows Store, Steam or Snap, depending on what operating system that you're working with. Now, this first update actually covers a lot of things that most of you guys may have complained about in terms of things like the Grease Pencil outline modifier having issues, the UV editor, Manta Flow, and so on and so forth. So just in case you're experiencing any of these problems, you may want to simply come through and download this. And when we talk about things that you might want to download, if you also go over to the Blender download section where you can find the daily builds, you'd actually see that the Blender 2.83.17 candidate is right here, and of course there's also the Blender 2.93.2 candidate. Now, before we also proceed to talk about what are the cool features that you would now be able to find in Blender 3.0, the alpha, let's take a look at a pretty cool blog that is right here. So last week we did talk about the whole thing that is coming over with the asset browser, the asset creation pipeline design from Pablo and all that stuff. But today we have this beautiful update from Canonica offering Blender support. Now, Canonica has actually proven themselves for a very long time to be supporters of open source, and right here we have some very cool updates that would actually enable Blender to get into the hands of open and close quotes mainstream. Right here you would also be able to see that there's a mission statement that deals with to get the world's best 3D technology in the hands of artists as free/open source software and make amazing things with it. Now, this statement actually enables a fair and accessible ecosystem for businesses, including services, consulting, education, and also integration. So the folks at Canonica are actually working alongside with the folks at Blender Foundation to make both licensing and working with Blender as a tool for big companies and also mainstream to become something that would be quite easy for them to get. So Canonica has also agreed to build their own version of Blender service and also work alongside with it on their trusted Ubuntu Advanced platform. Now, any revenue that is coming over from the service will be partially shared with Blender Foundation, and that fund will be invested in the core Blender development and public support of the LTS. So pretty cool stuff coming over to the folks at Blender Foundation. And for those who would like to read more about this one, I'm going to put a link in the description that can bring you right here where you would be able to read all of this. Now, with this said, let's dive directly into Blender 3.0, the alpha, and take a look at some of the very cool features that is available right now. First off, we're going to start off with something that folks at Blender Foundation have actually done that pleases me. Now, as someone that consistently downloads brand new versions of Blender every single day, every single week, and test out some of the cool features, it is quite interesting to see that right now, if you go over to edit, go all the way down to preference, and go to your settings or your system settings, you would now notice that we have a button that says make default. Now, what this actually does is, depending on the version of Blender that you're always working with, you can now set that version to become your default version of Blender. So once you're working with any file directly with Windows will associate this version that you're working with any Blender file that exists on your PC. So for example, if you're working with the 3.0 alpha and probably from time to time you get to test other builds of Blender, you can now proceed to make that version the default version that you like to work with and open your Blender files with and take advantage of all of the cool features that exist with it. So with that said as well, we also have some very cool updates to 3.0. Now, these updates exist within the geometry nodes, and first off, let's get started by taking a look at the UI update. So if we switch over to geometry nodes right now, you'll notice that right here within the spreadsheet, we have something beautiful. So this looks good. I like the idea that within the geometry nodes, you can take a look at the number of vertices you have, the number of edges, the number of faces, and also the face corners. So these things are all mapped out, and I like this. Contrary to what we had before, where you have to simply select and go through to search for these things, by simply glancing on this panel, you can tell what exists here and what doesn't. Now, this actually becomes even more interesting in situations where you like to search for certain stuff. And what I mean by that is if you take a look right over here as well, you'll notice that we have a filter. So you can use this filter to search for things, and to actually get things happening, if you go in and press N on your keyboard within this window, or you simply double click this tiny arrow here, you can click on add row filter and search for stuff. So depending on what you're searching for, you can proceed to search for individual columns, and you can add as much rows that you like to search for. So this is definitely going to be very useful for a lot of people. Now with that said as well, let's take a look at some cool stuff that exists within the geometry nodes itself. So once we have a simple object right here, let's actually go in and create a tiny plane, because we're also going to go ahead and use that. And I'm just going to delete that, and let's select this. All right. So once we have this and click on the new button, you would notice we have everything looking the very same way they are. But right now we have some very cool nodes that you can now work with, and these nodes exist majorly within the curve. So if we go over to the curve nodes right now, you would notice that we have the curve subdivide, we have the curve reverse, and as well we also have some other things that deals with curve to point. So depending on what you're trying to create, you can actually proceed to do some very interesting things. So let's say we have this object right here, and we would like to convert this to node. So what do we do? Simply say mesh to curve, and then you have that. So instead of dragging in a brand new curve using that, we can simply convert this one to curve, and with that there we can choose to do some subdivision. So we have a curve subdivision, and we can place that there. So right here we have cut set to 1, and we can actually go in and increase this, maybe make that all the way to 3. And with that there, we can also choose to even do some more stuff. So let's say, for example, we would also prefer to get something in. So what can we get in? If we also go over to the curve section, we have the curve to mesh, and at the same time we've also talked about that the fact that we have the curve to point, so we can also get that curve to point. So this is also a very cool node that we have right now. So you can have this curve to point, and you can use this for a lot of things. Now at any point in time you probably feel excited about any of these things that you're working with, you can also go over to the geometry nodes right here, actually the mesh primitives, and we can get a cube, and we can wire that cube right here, and of course you can start noticing the kind of beautiful things that we're doing. So because this is extremely procedural and you have all the things that you can work with, so let's say we set this one back to 1, and you have everything that you might want to work with, you can also proceed to change and make some very cool updates. So something else I kind of forgot to tell you guys is within the cut section, you can actually choose to work with both attributes and also integers. Now the attribute actually takes account of whatever value that the attribute owns and applies it to the cut. So if we go over to the cut section and we choose to use something like the radius, you notice that we have something like this, and you can actually go ahead and even get some more stuff. For example, position, maybe you like to use the tilt. These are attributes that you can actually play with. Now for us to even get things even more crazy, we can go in and throw in a simple join node right here. So let's actually grab that, throw in that join node, and we're just going to go in and connect this one over to this one, and then right here, and of course you can start noticing this pretty cool thing. So we can have this one as well. Then we can actually proceed to even do some more stuff like point to volume. So we can get a point to volume, throw that in there, and of course you can see what we have, and then we can convert this from volume to mesh, and yep, that way we can now have a mesh like this. And we can actually tone the radius down, maybe 0.1, get something like this, you know, trying to get something cool. And probably we might just simply switch this to the radius just to get that happening. So in this way, you can have access to a lot of things. And by the way, since we already have the Boolean, so we can throw in that Boolean right here, make sure that we set this to union, go in and get rid of that one, connect this one here, connect this other one right here, and then we can grab this and lock and load. So with just a single mesh within your viewport, you can actually go in and start creating some very, very lovely things. Now there's also something else which I didn't notice, that is a brand new update right here, which also deals with the node. So the curve node also comes with a curve reverse node. So just in case you're thinking about, you know, reversing your nodes within your curve, yes, you can. So how do you take a look at this? Now I've not fully understood how this one works, but I'm definitely going to show you guys how it looks. So if we go in and we press M on the keyboard to mute these ones, let's actually mute these other one as well. So I'm just going to select that and mute that, and you can see what we have. Now if we go over to the curve section, you notice we have the control points, and then we have the splines. So we can actually choose to do something. So I can come over here and get the curve and get the curve reverse, and we can plug in that curve reverse node. Now within the splines, you would not notice any updates, but once we go over to the control points, you would notice that we have some updates right over here. So if I press M on the keyboard to mute this, you can notice that we have some sort of reversal thing going on there. So I can also select that and press M, and you can notice that we have a couple of changes happening as we proceed. So this is for those who would like to work with curves, and probably you're thinking about reversing certain selections within your curve, probably the way the curves is going to flow. This is definitely one of those things that you should consider taking a look at, since this nodes now exist with Blender. Of course, there's also a couple of other nodes that exist with Blender right now, which includes the raycast and also the separate component node. So with this said, let's take a look at another brand new cool update that is now here. So for example, let's believe that we have a couple of things within our viewport. So I'm just going to go in and make some changes. Let's actually make some copies. Keep one there, one here, and one here. So if we go in and we split this in half, we can go over and make a simple selection by, let's say we select this other one, and I'm just going to subdivide this one by 3. And with this selected, if I go over to where we have the view, go down to local view and toggle local view, you would notice that we have just this object within this particular viewport. Now the new update here deals with the fact that you can now have a very cool heads-up display for individual objects that exist within a given viewport. So if we go over to our viewport overlay and turn on statistics, you'll be able to see these things right here. So we can actually tell the number of objects that we have within this particular viewport, and in this case we have 1 to 1. And if we also go in and make sure that we turn this one on here and turn this on, you notice right here we have 8. So if you have a selection here, you notice it's selected 1/8, and we can actually select even more stuff, and you can see that. But within this particular viewport, we only have one object that has been selected, and you can tell the number of vertices, edges, and also faces that this actually has within it. So with all these beautiful things said, let's dive over and take a look at some of the incredible update that is also here with Blender. Right now there is an update to the mesh optimization, and this optimization deals with object mode face tessellation. And of course, for those who would like to also see more stuff about this one, I'm going to put this link in the description where you can read more about it. Now moving forward, of course, there's a couple of updates within the community that you guys may want to take a look at. The blender.community page is right here, and it has some pretty cool updates. So just in case you would like to check this one out, I'm going to put this link in the description where you can check it out. Sometime last week we couldn't get this one to be available since it wasn't live then, but it's pretty cool to see that it is now live. And just in case you would like to join any of these communities that exist here, link to this is going to be in the description so you can proceed to check it out. And while we talk about things that you might want to also check out, if you go over to Blender Cloud, there is a brand new blog that deals with production lessons titled Distress Shading for Characters. So just in case you would like to read up on this, or probably you would like to learn a couple of things about Spyderfy, you may want to go over to the Blender Cloud. I'm also going to put this link in the description where you can check it out. Now with that said, let's talk about some free stuff. So this week there are some free stuff that you guys may want to grab and learn and also work with. First off, we're going to jump over to ArtStation. Now I did mention this within the weekly free giveaway, and you guys may want to check out Lucas. He has a couple of Blender tutorials and Blender source files that you might want to grab. Now there's also a pretty cool add-on that is right here as well that you might want to check out, just in case you are into automatic UV unwrapping. You might want to see this one. There is also a pretty cool add-on that I'm yet to talk about within the channel, and this one is called BagaPie. Now this tool covers a lot of things that you probably need an add-on for, from scattering to painting all the way to doing some boolean. This is right here for those who like to create things like walls, windows, you're into architectural stuff, or you're thinking about getting some free add-on that can solve a couple of needs for you. This add-on right here, which is known as BagaPie, is available, so you can come through and check it out. This BagaPie is still within its beta, and for sure if you like to grab it, I'm going to put this link in the description as well where you may want to check it out. And while we talk about things that you might want to check out, there is a BlenderGram which is made available by Addon, and Addon has actually made this one owing to the fact that most people would like to create their own renders and ship these to sites like Instagram or some social media pages. Now depending on what you're rendering, you might actually be needing a particular size to work with, and he has gone through to make this one available. It's a pretty small add-on, but for sure this might save you a couple of heartache. And while we talk about things that would save you a couple of heartache, there is this beautiful add-on from the folks at VFX Grace. Now, if you're into hair, you're thinking about working with hair particles, or you're wondering how can I get some amazing brushes, the folks at VFX Grace has created a couple of add-ons and also a couple of scripts that you may want to check out. Their most recent one is called the 3D particle brush, and this covers a lot of things, from how you can groom your hair, comb the hair, puff it, and tweak it to your own liking. This add-on actually covers a lot of things. Meanwhile, if you also go over to their page, you would also notice that they do have some more stuff. So let's simply take a look at that. So when you go over to their page, they have a whole lot of things that deals with hair. So just in case you're looking for anything that actually covers hair, you may want to consider taking a look at their page. So it's very cool to see, that I came across this one, and I think this might be pretty cool for you guys. And while we talk about things that might be pretty cool, there is a beautiful add-on for quick rigging and animation known as PuPA. PuPA is built by Louise Art, who is an amazing artist, and of course this add-on, unlike any other add-on that you've been working with that creates rigs, this one comes with some custom motions that you can apply automatically and test out your character. So just in case you're thinking about an add-on that allows you to rig quickly and also apply hundreds of animation onto your model automatically, then this add-on is definitely one that you should consider taking a look at. Now, to any of these add-ons that you guys would like me to talk about, simply put that in the comment section, and of course I'll do my best to cover those ones. So this is more like it. Pretty cool update right here for those who are into hair, for those who are into making quick animations, or probably you would like to download a fresh copy of Blender right now and test it, or update the version that you've had. Links to all of this is going to be in the description, so do well to check it out. I'd like to know what you guys think about this one in the comment section, and of course if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And if you're new here, it's going to be amazing for you to hit the subscribe button and also turn on notifications so that you don't miss the next video or the next update. And I'd like to see you guys again with a tutorial update, Free Friday, Tutorial Tuesday, tips and tricks, things like this. Peace.